When you're trying to progress with weight that isn't easy to handle, access, and just overall feels substantially heavier than weights used in traditional weightlifting, some fierce resistance can come at some point in the cycle. I'm currently facing this in this cycle, so I'm about to talk about the end goal of this cycle, the challenges, reapproaching shoulder carries as the weight gets heavier, how I'm going to accomplish this goal, plus some effects I've noticed. So let's jump on in. This carry cycle is laid out over 8 weeks, not including the break from the sandbag and the deload week, with weight progressions every 2 weeks. The first jump was the biggest jump, and the increases from here on out will be smaller. The max weight I'm working up to is 270 pounds, and I will carry it 200 meters around a standard size track on the last week of the cycle. Based on how it's going so far, I'm going to get it around the track by any means possible, by either shoulder carrying it, preferably on both shoulders, and I'm going to fall back on bear hug carries when I can no longer shoulder it after a few failed attempts, on top of getting the bag to the track in the first place. I might have to bring a dolly to wheel it into the track, or just flip it like a tire to warm up. I'll probably just flip it to the track as a warm-up. I don't really focus on making sandbags easier. I focus on finding solutions to eliminate weak points to become stronger. As I mentioned earlier, I'm facing challenges and hitting a wall on the shoulder carries. It's not so much carrying it on the shoulder, it's getting the bag to my shoulder. From here on out, as the weight gets heavier and up to max weight, I'm going to have to load the bag on my shoulder from an elevated position instead of from the ground, as the focus here is carrying it on the shoulder and not shouldering the bag itself. The power from the lap and the work capacity isn't there yet to handle shouldering at 250 pounds and up for a decent amount of volume yet. With carrying on top of that, it really just turns into a life meter in a video game blinking red. But it will be built in a maintenance cycle in the future, focusing on skill building moves like tossing over the shoulder from the lap and the row to high pull, as I've done with lighter weight of 200 pounds and increasing the volume every week. As I've found, spending 8 weeks at a weight, focusing on skill building moves like this, is plenty of time for the body to adapt and handle a weight for volume. I'm also going to start doing all the sandbag stuff in the morning instead of in the evening, and start my weeks off with swing and push, because I've found that doesn't negatively affect performance with the sandbag at all. Unless you take it too far and get super sore, of course. As for volume, I'm still going to do shoulder carries down and back as far as I can, starting the first couple sets with shouldering, and then grabbing it off my tailgate onto the shoulder for the remainder of the 40-minute running clock I set. That's pretty much how I've been doing it the entire cycle, and it's a good way to push yourself in a reasonable time frame, I've found. Carrying the weight on the shoulder like that, especially substantially heavier than your body weight, can produce soreness in the muscles you didn't know you had. Both the back and core are made up of external muscles and internal muscles to help control posture, sustain weight, and keep the body upright. Some areas I've noticed soreness in are both the external, internal oblique, and the erector spinae. To sum it up, shoulder carries definitely engage the deeper internal muscles that support the spine and support the larger muscles we all know, love, and like to train with conventional moves such as the lats, the traps, and the rhomboids. I can say the same goes for the kettlebell overhead carries and the front rack carries for each side, especially in the shoulders, just on a smaller, more isolated scale. Here and there, I've also noticed a sharp burning pain running down from the lats, down the side of my back, and always flared up when I shed the weight. In a cycle earlier in the year, when I focused on shouldering, I would do short carries, and that's where I've noticed it. It hasn't happened in this cycle yet. I'm assuming that could have been either knots or a pinched nerve. The way I addressed it was mostly just foam rolling and just active recovery. Bands and stuff seemed to help alleviate that. I'm not qualified to diagnose myself, but I've got a good way to mitigate aches and pains just from the experience of training. I also wake up the next day stiff as a board a lot, but overall my back is fine, and for some reason seems to feel better after I do some kind of training. When doing stuff like this, it's important to emphasize mobility and recovery. That's why I show a lot of recovery stuff when I'm not training on here, like dead hangs, bands, overhead squats, and back bridges. It's paramount to keeping a repeatable routine, especially when you're training with a heavy sandbag. It definitely doesn't break your back, it builds it through force. As for the bear hug carries, I don't have any issues because I've always done them, and my body is used to that movement. This is my first time focusing on sandbag shoulder carries, especially going heavy, so it feels new. And these are the approach, effects, and challenges that I've faced so far. I was originally focused on getting the bag from the ground to my shoulder when doing shoulder carries, but this struggle has made me adjust to still accomplish the goal. I don't have any excuses, just an approach adjustment and a plan to attack a weakness. Well, that's all I got. If you have any questions, anything to add, leave it in the comments. Thanks for being here, and I'll see y'all in the next video.